are stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Wanderings. We are here live on KGRADB.com. I hope you are joining us here because not only is my show here, there are several other amazing shows for you to participate in. So take a look around, click on all of the buttons, see what there is for you to explore, to listen to learn from. And if you're not on the KGRADB.com page, then hopefully you're with us live on YouTube or Facebook under KGRA Digital Broadcasting. There are chat rooms on all three of those forums that I hang out in and participate with you behind the scenes. And also, if you guys have any questions, that's a great place for you to ask them. Type them all in caps so that I see them quickly. And then if time allows, we'll be able to ask our guests those questions. And I'm sure a 2-hour show will have plenty of time to learn more about our guests. And you guys are just going to love him. He has so much experience in all of the things that we talk about here on Soul Wanderings. And I'm really excited to get to know him. If you are interested in getting to know about me and who I am, your host, AJ, visit soulwanderings.com. There's a little bit about what I do there. I have a few side businesses in the spiritual realms. We play around doing all different kinds of things in my world, and I love to share with all of you. So take a look. And if you ever want to email me, if you would like to be a guest on the show, or if you know someone who would like to share their personal journey story with us, there's a little contact form at the bottom of that page. You can just send me a message there or write me at connect@soulwanderings.com. But without further ado, let's get right on to our wandering. Tonight is going to be a good one. You guys are going to love every story our guest has to share. John Russell is our guest tonight, and he's been an internationally known professional psychic for almost a half a century. He's worked with clients around the world. He also has been a featured guest on many popular radio shows and recently filmed a TV pilot for the History Channel in which he physically explored the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. And he's also been an avid motorcyclist for over 50 years. So while he's not chasing ghosts around the country on his motorcycle, John enjoys reading, painting, making photographs, gardening, target shooting, and fancies himself as a fair chess player. I love all of your hobbies. We could hang out and hobby together, no problem.
Absolutely. And I only fancy myself a fair chess player, not a really great one, but I do enjoy playing. How are you, AJ?
That's one thing I don't do. I am so good, John. I am so happy to have you on the show. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight.
I know we will. I told you this before the show. I heard you on Coast to Coast, and I saw you on another show, and everything that you've shared, I have to say, I really adore your energy. It's so genuine and authentic.
Thank
and
you.
Your viewpoints on things are not like a lot of other people's viewpoints. You're very, you're very unique in the way that you feel and think about what's going on between us and the spirit world. And I like your
viewpoints are results driven and driven by practicality and by real experiences, genuine experiences on the physical realm. So that's been a passion of mine since I was about 11 years old.
Yeah, that's what I adore about you. I was like, yes, I'm so happy to have him on the show because of that. Um, but first, this is Soul Wanderings, and there's a lot of things that you do now. There's a lot of things that you have done in your past.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in learning more about you on a personal level before we dive into all of that other stuff.
Mm.
You're a psychic and a medium.
Right.
And excuse me, this all began, from my understanding, since you were a young child.
Yeah. Started when I was 5. And the way it began, AJ, I was sound asleep in bed. It was the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, I was totally, completely wide awake. And I couldn't figure out why. And I didn't have any grogginess, no drowsiness or anything. And I thought, well, maybe there was a noise outside and that woke me up. So I listened, didn't hear anything. And my parents had a night light on that they had down the hallway. So in case I had to get up and go to the bathroom at night. And I raised up in bed on my elbows and just kind of looked around my bedroom, kind of bumfuzzled, wondering why I woke up like that. And I looked out my open bedroom door, and down the hallway, around one of the doorways, this elderly black gentleman was peering around the doorway at me. And I screamed bloody murder because it scared me to death, because my family's white. We didn't have anyone black living with us. I don't think we even knew anyone black at the time. And my presumption was that someone had broken into the house, because I didn't know this gentleman. So I'm thinking someone's broken in. And after I screamed, he walked around the doorway into the hall and started walking toward my bedroom with his eyes locked on me. And he wasn't transparent. He wasn't translucent. He was every bit as solid as you or I. I knew he was elderly because he had this close cropped white hair. He had a white mustache. And he had on a red flannel shirt and khaki pants and black shoes and a black belt. I'll never forget until the day I die. And every bit as solid as you or I. And as he got closer, I screamed bloody murder again. My parents started coming running. And when they did, he began to disappear until he vanished. And my parents came in. My mother tried to console me, and they tried to tell me, oh, you just had a nightmare. And I knew better, because I was totally, completely wide awake. And they said, oh, you just saw something on TV and you had a bad dream. And I knew it wasn't a bad dream. And my fright was so real that I convinced them that someone was in the house. And my mother held me and tried to comfort me. And my dad actually went around looking under all the beds and all the closets, checked all the doors and windows. And of course, the house was locked up tight. Nobody was there in the flesh. And then it dawned on me I had seen my first ghost.
Wow.
And I was like, why did he come? And why was it so scary? And is he going to come back? And is he going to talk to me? And is he going to ask me to do something I'm going to consider to be frightening or whatever? So it took me forever to go back to sleep. And then for the next week or two, I kind of spent life looking over my shoulder all the time. When is this guy coming back to get me again? And then I just all of a sudden had this epiphany. I started experiencing paranormal phenomena on the physical realm, not things that I dreamed or meditated or envisioned or imagined or daydreamed or hallucinated, but actual physical happenings on the physical realm. And a lot of times they were witnessed by my parents. And it just dawned on me. I just had this epiphany, and I put 2 and 2 together, and I said, that's why he came, was to open up the portal to this other dimension so I would have these experiences. And I didn't fully understand why I would have these experiences then, but then I later came to understand that connection with the other side would enable me to understand and interact with the other side, not only for my benefit, but for others as well, and that the other side would teach me directly and help me learn things. And so that was the beginning of my experience with paranormal phenomena. And I've had over 1,000, way over 1,000 physical manifestations in my lifetime. A lot of times others have witnessed these. We've caught them on film, we've caught them on camera, we've caught them on audio. And then that happened when I was around 5, and then between the age of 5 and 6, the experiences continued. And I was out in the backyard playing with a toy one day, and this car pulled into the driveway, and I didn't recognize the people, and I didn't recognize the car. So I ran inside, and I got my parents, and I said, somebody's out here, and I don't know who it is. And I said, okay, we'll come look. So they came outside, and they said, oh, these are friends of ours. And I'd never met the people. I didn't know them. So they got out of their car and they were standing outside on the sidewalk talking with my parents, and I was goofing around with my toy. And I came up there and I was standing in the middle of them and just staring at them. And all of a sudden I had this vision, and I said, you guys have just been on vacation and you took that car that's in the driveway. You drove that car. And I said, you don't have kids with you today, but you have 2 kids and you took them with you on this vacation. And the hotel you stayed at had this many stories, and it was painted this color, and it had these trees out front that looked like this, and they were spaced at regular intervals. And in the back, the pool area looked like this. And the woman's husband was kind of looking at my parents and at her, and kind of like with this bemused grin on his face, like, what in God's name is going on? And I'll never forget this woman. It was priceless. Her jaw was agape and her eyes were bugged out. I mean, she was staring at me like I had cobras growing out of my ears. And she looked at my parents and she goes, how the hell could he possibly have known that? And my parents kind of stammered and muttered, and my mother said something like, well, you know, kids and their imaginations. And she goes, kids and their imaginations? No. How the hell could he possibly have known that? And my parents were kind of like, well, what are you talking about? And she goes, that's what we were coming to tell you today, was about the vacation that we took. That's why we came. And we took our car and we took our 2 kids and we stayed at this hotel that looked exactly like John described. How the hell is it possible that he could know that? And my parents muttered something and said, John, go play. And I was like, okay, nice to meet you folks. And off I went with my toy. And they never came to visit my parents again. So I guess I scared the life out of them. And it was at that point that I realized then that I had this psychic gift where I could see into people's lives. I could tell where they had been, what they had done. I could read their thoughts and emotions. I could accurately predict their futures, what was going to happen in their futures. And so when all of this occurred, it fascinated me, and I was never frightened again in my entire life after that experience with the guy that came to open the portal. And instead, it became a subject of fascination to me. And it was in the process of growing up and trying to develop this gift and learn more about this gift that I became aware that there was a lot of phoniness in the spiritual realm and the religious realm, so on and so forth. And that aggravated me because I had real experiences and I knew they were real. And I knew there was something to this invisible realm, to this other side, and that we could interact with it in beneficial manners. But people that claimed to believe in that and claimed to be doing that work were liars and cheaters and thieves and adulterers and all kinds of things. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That morality doesn't line up with what they claim to be doing. Mm-hmm. And so I began to see these discrepancies in religion and in our church and in the spiritual realm and among other people that claim to be psychic or spiritual or whatever. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a lot here that doesn't add up. And then I began to also see that there was a lot of things that people claimed that worked that didn't, mm-hmm. and so on and so forth. So I wanted to begin to explore that and find out what was real, what wasn't, what worked, what didn't, and how these people could claim to live a life of belief and then act contrary-wise. And so that became a burning passion with me. And about the age of 11, I began to study everything I could find, read everything I could find in religion, psychology, parapsychology, the paranormal, everything. And began to study as deeply as I could to find some answers. And then I began to conduct paranormal investigations on my own and interact with spirits in places and spirits, entities, things that were going on and energies that were going on to discern what was happening and why. And that became a lifelong passion. Then about the age of 15, I started doing psychic readings for friends and family. Wow. And then at the age of 18, started reading professionally. So for 50 years now, I've read professionally. I've read for clients in over 40 countries, which just boggles my mind. It's just amazing to me. I've conducted a lot of paranormal investigations and learned a lot over the years from the other side and from practicing what I do and so on and so forth, and still have a whole lot to learn. But it's a really exciting adventure. It's been an exciting adventure, and it continues to be.
Right. There's always something to learn. But you were having some really big realizations at the age of 5.
Yeah.
I mean, even going into 11 and then 15 and 18, just having those type of experiences at such a young age, mm-hmm. where I know a lot of us do have them when we're young, but we're conditioned out of them, or right, our parents shoo it away or whatever that looks like.
Exactly.
It sounds like you had a very supportive upbringing where you were allowed to flourish in that arena.
I did. My mother was a staunch believer in the psychic and the paranormal realms, and her side of the family, we had a lineage of people that had a lot of psychic experiences, paranormal experiences, and things. My gift was the strongest of anybody's. And then on my father's side, my father was kind of what I term a closet believer, in the sense that he realized the reality of what was happening. He couldn't deny it because it was occurring in front of his eyes on the physical realm. But being a churchgoer for most of his life and involved in the mainline church, he realized that if he were to acknowledge or acquiesce to a belief in the psychic and paranormal realms, that it would bring down the wrath of the church on his head. So he avoided it for that reason. And the other reason he avoided it was it scared him.
Yeah.
And my dad was he owned a bar. He was his own bouncer. He had been a stock farmer. He was really tough. I mean, his favorite tool in the bar was a blackjack or a hammer. And so he could handle himself in a fight. He could handle cattle. He could work the ranch. He could do all these things. He handled a horse. And if it was something he could get his hands on and deal with physically, then he was okay. But the paranormal realm would manifest on the physical realm, and he saw that, but he couldn't interact with it. He couldn't stop it. He couldn't get his hands on it. He couldn't fight it. He couldn't control it. So that scared him. And so he was always kind of at arm's length from these things, but my mother embraced them and encouraged me in it and gave me what guidance she could. And then the rest I picked up from study and from life experience.
So his fear didn't affect you in living your truth at all?
No, not at all. No.
That's neat. I love that you have a lineage of gifted humans in your life. That's really neat. So you just had that support right away, which is so important in my opinion.
It is, because a lot of people don't.
They don't get the opportunity because they, for whatever reason that they're told that they should.
And it's like you say, most parents shut their kids down at a very early age. That's ungodly. That's not in the Bible. We don't mess with that. Or, no, you don't have an invisible friend. Stop acting out. Or, where did this item go? Well, a ghost took it. It disappeared. Don't tell lies. If you tell me where it went, tell me what you did with it. You won't get in trouble. And that's the status quo for most parents with their kids. And as a result, at an early age, we begin to shut that down and to pull back and to close that off. And then as adults, for a lot of people, it's very hard to get that back.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I had several experiences when I was younger, and they weren't shooed away by religion by any means, but I was very imaginative, and I was very creative and those types of things. But I mean, everyone has an experience. I'm just really glad that you were able to have such a positive upbringing that allowed you to be who you are today because of it. Because
me too.
You had a lot of adventures. You've had a lot of experiences, over 1,000, even just seeing over 1,000 apparitions. Like that's unheard of.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And like I say, the neat thing is a lot of this has been experienced by the people. They've seen it as well. We've captured it on film. We've captured it on photographs. We've captured it in audio. And so that's the thing with me, is that's what I've always pushed for, is like, look, I bring you things that actually occur and then tell you what I've learned from that and how we can apply that to our lives to make our lives better and to connect with the spiritual realm in a more meaningful way, as opposed to people that they've read books that somebody wrote, 50 years ago, and they expound on that, and they're expounding on somebody else's daydreams, basically, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's always been my bone of contention. Things have to work. They have to be practical. And, I'm open to anything. Like, if you tell me that you can run straight up a wall for 50 feet and then flip and land on your feet and not hurt yourself, great. Let's go find a wall. Show me. And if you can do it, man, I'm your disciple. But if you can't, you're just in the dustbin of more BS. And the religious realm, the paranormal psychic realm is littered with BS. And, we have to wade our way through that and find out what's practical, what works, what doesn't. And it's important that we do that, because if we don't, we mislead people. People wind up wasting time, money, and effort. People get in cults. People pay phony psychics tens of thousands of dollars for promised services that they can't and don't deliver. And so it's important that we really analyze things carefully, that we call a spade a spade. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we have to be honest in that. We have to be forthright in that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I love that you've brought this up. When this has been a topic of conversation for me just in my day to day, there's because I do have a spiritual healing center, we do have readers there. And I'm meticulous about their interview process because I don't want anyone's emotions getting taken advantage of.
Exactly.
And I don't want anyone to waste their money. But the sad thing is, very few people make it through that process. And I'm not perfect. I've picked some people who really, really made me believe that they were legit somehow. But it's disheartening that that's the case, that people are muddying up these waters when they can be and are so beautiful and so outstanding and so beneficial to us.
Well, the thing that happens is that somebody will buy a deck of tarot cards and they'll read the booklet that comes with it. And then they'll go, now I'm a reader. Now I'm a psychic.
Yeah.
No, you're not. It takes a lifetime of practice and study, and you have to have a true gift to begin with. So you get those people that muddy up the water, that they think they know what they're doing and they don't. Right. And then you get other people that see the ego potential and the recognition of the money potential in it, and they want that. And they go after that. And then you have people that are just outright con artists, that are just outright frauds, and they go, oh, this is an easy field ripe for the pickings. And they know how to manipulate people. They know how to do a little sleight of hand magic and make things look like a paranormal miracle has occurred. And they know how to take advantage of people. So, unfortunately, the field is full of that.
It is. How would we decipher that as someone who is going to seek that advice from someone with the ability or not? But how would we decide who was false and who was true?
Well, when you're looking at someone, like with myself on my website, I have all my credentials. I have over 80 client testimonials. I have media testimonials. Look for references, look for referrals, look for testimonials. That's one of the things that you can do. Look for the price that people charge you for a reading. And like I say, I had a podcast host friend of mine say it the absolute best. He said, you're not charging for your gift, you're charging for your time. But charging for that time should be reasonable, and it shouldn't be outrageous.
Right.
You also want to look for, if something always works, it's false, it's fake. Because when you go to one of these phony psychics that are about to con you in through various sleight of hand manipulation, stage magic, close-up magic, if you will, it always works, always. And that's the mark of the phony, because in the paranormal realm, the true paranormal realm, God that it would, but it doesn't. It doesn't always work. It's like I tell people, you can't make an appointment with a UFO. You can't sit there and send this thought of, okay, 2:00 today, I'm going to be outside with my camera. You guys come. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of frustration in the paranormal realm. So that's another thing you have to look at. Another thing you have to look at is if people start telling you that they see evil or negativity or problems or whatever around you, and they can solve this for X amount of dollars, and it usually starts in the hundreds and then rapidly goes into the thousands and then rapidly goes into the tens of thousands of dollars. And that's one of the things that you have to look for. And it's a common sense thing when these people are telling you, I see negativity around you. Have you felt bad lately? Or is there disharmony in your home? Well, God, that's all of us all the time. We go to bed tired, we get up tired, we work too much. The tire's flat, the hot water heater went out, you have an argument with the wife over the burnt toast or whatever. That's status quo. but we don't pay attention to it. And then somebody points it out and we go, well, yeah, I have felt a little run down lately and things are a little difficult between me and my mom. Oh, that's because there's these evil spirits around. And then they get you from there, and there it goes.
Yeah,
so
there
those
it
are some
goes.
of the
I've
things.
seen it time and time again. And I'm so glad you're bringing this up. So we aren't just wandering into this totally naive and blindsided, because it is out there, unfortunately. But also, as much negative as there is, there's also a lot of positive and a beautiful experience that can be had.
There is,
and yeah, we're going to talk about that. We'll get on the other side of all of that when we return from this quick break. So stay close, everyone. We'll be right back.
All right.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time
To binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna go back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires with Sound the Alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back. We are live on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, and I am AJ, your host. Tonight, we are hanging out with John Russell. He is a professional psychic, internationally known, has had several experiences that he's here to share with us. And John, I almost forgot to share in the beginning of the show, you're also an author. So we're going to make sure that we talk about the books that you've written with all about your experiences and get everyone to get their hands on them.
Right.
More stories. And these books,
AJ, in all honesty, I've had a lot of people that have given me reviews and said, I've read this type of stuff my entire life and I've never read anything like your books before. So people are going to be in for something unique when they read these books.
Well, they're definitely on my list. I wanted to get them before the show, but still the same. I'm going to receive them, and I can't wait to dig my hands and my eyes into them because if you haven't noticed, I'm a story girl. That's why we do Soul Wanderings. I love hearing people's stories, their life experiences, their journeys. And
Right, right.
I really feel like it brings us closer together. It
It does.
expands our consciousness.
And we can learn things from these
Yes.
stories. You know, it's like I tell people, I say, I write these things to tell you not only what happened, but what I learned from it and what you might learn from it and how we might apply it to our lives so that we live in a better way. And that's what it's all about.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I'm on the flip side of that negativity where I said we were going to talk about all the good stuff.
Right.
There's a time and a place for all of it, right? The awareness is beautiful, and the balance in all things and all of that good stuff. But it's the positive experiences that are going to connect us. They're going to help bring us that growth.
Yes.
And you're full of them. You are full of those experiences, and you have put yourself out there in the world to share your stories, which kudos to you.
Thank you.
Not everyone puts themselves out that way, especially, well, it is more common now that we talk about things like this of anomalous topic.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I'm sure when you were growing up and even through most of your life, it wasn't always that way because people, at least from my understanding, from my experiences and what I have heard, you know, I'm not sure if it's religion or conditioning or just human nature, but it really does get a bad rap.
Oh, absolutely. And back when I grew up, I'm 68 now, so I've been around a while. And back when I was growing up, when I was in my teenage years, you didn't talk about this stuff. Because if you did, you were made fun of. People said you were crazy. People said you were on drugs or hallucinating or whatever. And it was just a topic that you didn't talk about. And I remember at the time, like Merv Griffin and a lot of these people were beginning to have psychics on TV and to have those kind of demonstrations. And privately, people craved that. They were interested in that, and they wanted to see, well, is there something else? Is there something more? Do these people have these gifts? But you didn't talk about that in your church. You didn't talk about that on your job. You didn't talk about that with most people because they would say you were nuts, hallucinating, on drugs or whatever. So it was a very touchy subject. And, you know, we're all these years later, and we're not that much better. We're a little bit better, but we're not all that much better, unfortunately. And I mean that you can look at the UFO report that the government gave us, the public one, and they're saying, okay, now we're creating an environment where all of these people and all of these pilots and everything can come and talk about these experiences they've had without fear of ridicule or without fear of losing their wings or without fear of demotion and so on and so forth. So in other words, and everybody's been saying that's read this and that has followed this forever, like we all have in the paranormal community, everybody's saying, oh, you're going to solve the problem you created then because that was a government problem that they created. You don't talk about this, you'll lose your commission, you'll lose your wings, you'll be demoted, you'll be discharged. You don't talk about this stuff. So now that's the problem the government created. And now the government is solving its own problem by saying we're creating an environment where the pilots that see this, the people that experience this, they can come out and talk about it now without worry of reprisal. So it's just a recent thing. And
do you trust that? Do you trust that they're really wanting us to open up and share our experiences?
No. I don't trust.
Neither do I.
I don't trust any government. Our government has always lied to us. All world governments lie to all their people. And the thing that really aggravates me about the UFO situation, I saw with my own eyes, this is not one of those hearsay things, but I saw a documentary many, many years ago. And one of our ex-heads of the CIA was being interviewed. And he said, this is back during the SR-71 Blackbird era. And for people that don't know what that is, the SR-71 was our premier spy plane. And this plane, you can look it up online, find out all about it. It was really fascinating, a marvelous piece of technology. It flew in subspace. It flew so high. And it flew so fast that nothing could shoot it down. No bullets, no rockets, no missiles, no plane could catch it. It was just absolutely untouchable. And so the CIA head said that during the SR-71 Blackbird era, if you took 2 golf balls and put them a couple of feet apart on a putting green, and the SR-71 overflew the golf course at speed in subspace and shot a photograph, that when you developed the picture, you could read clearly which golf ball was a Titleist and which one was a McGregor. And he said, that's decades old technology. Imagine what we can do now. Well, now the government says, we can't figure out these UFOs. We don't have the technology to know what's going on. Are you kidding me? If we could do that with the Blackbird back then, and we're light years beyond that technology now, the government's trying to get us to swallow that we can't take clear pictures, we can't get video, we don't know where they're from, we don't know what they're doing, we don't know what their motive is, and you expect me to believe that. I'm not going to believe that because there's too much evidence to the contrary, both physical and anecdotal. I mean, it's just ludicrous to think. So it's a real interesting thing with the UFO report that came out. As someone pointed out that I just saw in an interview, someone said, well, no, they're not going to give us all the good stuff in the public report because our enemies are reading that report as well. So we don't want to give away, too much in that. Well, that's understandable. But then there was the classified report that went to Congress, and somebody through the grapevine leaked that it was like watching a Star Wars movie or something to read this report. It was like that incredible. And on the Big Phone Home, that's an homage to E.T. Phone Home. There's a friend of mine that does this podcast, and I've been a guest on it. And every year he does this Big Phone Home, and he gets all the major UFO researchers from around the world, a lot of the big names, and interviews them. And it's a day-long affair. Sometimes it runs 2 or 3 days now. And on this last one, he got a congressman, and the congressman was willing to talk about all of this stuff. And the congressman said that we have the opportunity, we the people right now, have the opportunity to press for true disclosure. And he said, if we don't keep this door open and force it open, that the government is going to realize its error in releasing this report to the public, and they're going to close the door and shut things down. And he said, if you think it's tight and it's secret now and difficult to get things now, if that happens in the future, there won't be any information about anything that comes out, period, end discussion. And so his directive to the American public was, you've got to press for disclosure. We, the people, hold this power if we'll take it in our hands and use it. And he said, we've got to push for this and find out what's going on.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's so crazy how much we're lied to. It just blows my mind.
It is.
And the thing that even makes it more challenging for me to wrap my head around is how many people believe it.
Yeah.
How many people are just closed off to the truth, if you will.
Yeah.
This just makes me want to ask you a random question.
Okay.
Speaking of the photographs and technology and how far we've come, but not really.
Yeah.
You really believe that we put a man on the moon?
I do. Yeah.
And why haven't we done it again?
I think that there are probably a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
So we have.
So we probably have. One thing that people have to realize, anything that the government, the military, or science affiliated with the military or anything that they reveal to us publicly is the tip of the iceberg.
True.
And the potential, the capability, the reality is the rest of that iceberg that we don't see. So the things that they reveal to us, as amazing as that might be, that's just, okay, let the public have this. We don't care. And if we think, wow, that's amazing, shouldn't that be classified? Should we be seeing this? That's a throwaway. They don't care about that. They've got stuff going on behind the scenes that we couldn't even fathom.
Right.
And so, for them to say, oh, well, soon we'll do this or we'll do that or whatever. I'm sure there are so many secret programs going on behind the scenes, doing things that we have no clue about, that it's just mind blowing. And, it's frustrating to think that all these billions and billions of dollars are spent this way and that it's disguised from the American public. These things affect us.
Yes.
Either directly or indirectly. And we have a right to know how our dollars are spent. We have a right to know about our defense. We have a right to know. Now they've said that these, like the UAPs, for example, UFOs, may represent a threat to our national security. And they're a threat to our airspace. And there's been near collisions with our military jets and with passenger jets now, they've admitted. Yeah. So look, these things affect us. We have a right to know what's going on. We're not children. The argument has always been, well, we can't tell the public because religion will collapse, the economy will collapse, there will be panic in the streets. No, there won't. I'm from the generation that did the duck and cover drill. In case of a nuclear war, we hid under our wooden discs and put our arms up over our head like this, and that was going to protect us from a nuclear blast and nuclear fallout, okay? Right. Look, we've lived through these wars and the threats of wars, and we see the famines and the problems of just living on this planet, tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, tornadoes. We're a pretty hardy people when it comes down to it. And I've always maintained that if the UFOs landed tomorrow and there was a press conference and aliens were real and they were interacting with our leaders and with the public, there's going to be some people that are going to sit there and go, yeah, I knew it all along. There's going to be some people that go, okay, what comes next? There's going to be some people in the minority, I think, that would panic. And there's going to be some people going out there and holding hands, forming the ring around the flying saucer, going, Jesus, save their souls. There's going to be this wide range of response. So, we're not these children that can't handle the truth. We lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis, for God's sake, and we're all still here and we're all still sane and sound. So I think it's ludicrous to mount arguments that, well, we can't tell you because. Well, none of that holds water. It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So we have to press and say, okay, what's the real reason that this evidence continues to get withheld? Well, we know a lot of it's greed. We know a lot of it's power.
Right.
People want money. People want power. People want influence. Beyond that, there's something that we have to get to the bottom of as to why this doesn't come out and why this isn't truly and fully disclosed. And I get frustrated with the people that are supposedly in the know when they come out and gives us dribs and drabs. And it's basically a useless hour or two interview of hinting at this, but then I can't tell you. Well, what do you think about that? Well, I can't disclose. Well, what about this situation? Well, yeah, that's real. We'll expound on that. Well, I can't. And it's like, well, you haven't told us anything. If you can't, just hush and go away, or else come out and say, okay, look, here it is, and throw it out there. And I get so frustrated with everything that's going on in ufology right now because people are doing that. And it's like, if you know, tell us. If you can't violate some secrecy agreement, non-disclosure agreement, whatever, then don't get out there in the first place.
Right. Don't even bring it up.
To me, it's the same thing as all the time you go on Facebook, you go on Twitter, you go on other social media, and people in the community, paranormal community, ufology community, are always posting these things. I can't say anything right now, but something big is coming in a week.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
And nothing big ever comes in a week. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah. So it's very frustrating.
Yeah. As someone who is a seer, are you able to pick up on any energy of what you feel may happen in the future?
Yeah, I think that some very interesting times are coming. I'll tell you that. I think it's incumbent upon all of us to realize that we do hold a lot of spiritual power collectively that can overcome money, power, and greed if we focus together in union and focus our energies on that. Yeah. That's the problem in trying to get people to do that. But I think we have that potential. I think some very interesting times are coming in ufology, and I think there is still the potential for some interesting things to come in the realm of the psychic realm, spiritual realm, so on and so forth. I'm encouraged because I see a lot of younger people that us old guys are going to pass the torch to, and they're doing a good job. They're intelligent, they're committed, they've got a good moral compass, they have a good ethical compass. They think, they can analyze, they can understand, and they're willing to probe and dig into these things and find things out. So I've got hope there. And I tell people we always have to have hope, and we always have to keep trying. You can't just sit down and give up. We have the capability to do something if we'll band together and do it. So I've got some hope.
I love that. Hope is such a powerful energy that we all could have.
Yeah.
No one knows what's going to happen truly, but hope gives us like that light at the end of the tunnel,
Absolutely.
if you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there are so many people out there that have a vast amount of knowledge, not only scientifically, but paranormally, psychically. And if we could just get all of these people together, and if we could get people, the main problem that I've encountered, that I've seen coming up through the ranks of this over the years, is that, people are very, very ego driven.
Yes.
And people are also very dogmatic in the sense that, I have people call me out all the time because I say this, that, and the other is nonsense. They go, well, how can you dismiss these ancient texts so easily, or this, that, and the other? Well, the same reason I can dismiss most ancient texts is because they're stories, and they're stories that don't have any relevance or apparently don't work. And people make a career out of writing books about ancient texts, and they have no new knowledge. They don't have anything you can take to the bank. There's no healing. There's no help. There's no enhanced spiritual contact with the other side. There's no world peace. There's no stopping wars. Right. It's just a rehash of everything that's been written before, and they're just writing more books about it and publishing more books about it. And it's theory, philosophy. And it's like, we have to do better than that. We've got to do better than that. But there's so much ego, and there's so much adherence to dogma. And it's like people will challenge you. If you have something concrete, people will challenge you with something philosophical.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, wow, this guy really has something concrete. Let's learn from that. No, they'll grab this thing that's so far-fetched and so far out. And it's like, I'm always trying to come at people with common sense. It's like people are, I'm sure you're familiar with now, everybody's, the universe is just one big, it's game theory. It's one big simulation or whatever, this, that, and the other. Okay, right. Who created the game?
I've heard that as well. Yeah.
Who created the game? Or the aliens created us? Who created the aliens? There's a spiritual component to everything that we have to realize. Whether you have aliens or not, whether you have technological invention or not, whether you have all of these things, there is this invisible spiritual realm that interacts with us and with which we interact. And there is a creation in there somewhere. Something had to make all this. Someone or something had to make all this. So if the aliens created us, who made the aliens that created us? If it's a game theory, who made the game theory? Who started the game theory? There always has to be this higher power and this creative power, and that's what we have to go to. And the problem with getting off in game theory and with simulation and with, I think the aliens are us from the future coming back and da-da-da-da-da. The problem with all that is we get into high school mental gymnastics. And that's where, when we used to be driving around in the car at night, listening to the radio, and we'd go, when I look at the color red, man, I call it red. And you may call it red too, but you may see it as green, but you call it red. And you get off into that silly nonsense. And that's all this is. And it goes forever and ever and ever. You don't have anything to hang your hat on.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to get away from, is the philosophizing, the daydreaming, the useless theory that doesn't do anything. And it's like, if you want to have that, if you want these giant wild speculations, great, but put them over here in the box that says giant wild speculations. Don't come trotting out here and say, I've got the answer to the universe, or how this works, or how psychic power works, any of this. We don't know. The problem is, for all of our experimentation, for all of our knowledge, for all of our testing, we don't know. If we did, we'd be having real-time conversations with the other side right now, and we're not.
Very
so
true.
We have a long, long, long way to go. And we have to be willing to put aside our ego and our dogma and our traditions and our rituals and say, something's happening here. Let's see how we can better connect with it. And let's see what we can learn from it. And the problem with introducing science into it, not to denigrate science, we need science, but science is woefully behind the paranormal for the simple reason that science explores data, and data doesn't tell you anything. Data tells you the REM pod went off. And I asked whoever was doing it, can you do it one more time? And it did. Well, that's data, okay? But it doesn't tell you who set the REM pod off.
Right.
It doesn't tell you why. It doesn't tell you what their motivation is. Doesn't tell you who they are. Doesn't tell you what they're trying to communicate and why. Doesn't tell you if they're there all the time or if they're just passing through. So there's all that you have to get. And the only way you get that's with a good psychic or a good medium. And then when you can marry the two of those things together, like they're kind of trying to do out at Skinwalker Ranch right now. You know,
Right.
I tweeted Brandon Fugel. I said, hey, you got to send the wizards in, man. You got to get the shamans in there. You got to get the mediums and the psychics. And he did that in season 2. You know, they had the rabbi come out and he did the ritual. He opened the portal. They caught it on camera. It's like, boom, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
But then you got to take that further and you got to say, okay, who's here? What are you manifesting and why? What are you doing and why? And that's always been the focus of all my paranormal investigations is who's here? What are you wanting to communicate? Why? What can I do for you? What can you do for us? What story do you have to tell? And that's where the real breakthrough is when you do that.
True. Skinwalker's a trip. I mean, I live in Utah. I'm not very far from that area.
Yeah.
So I grew up knowing all the stories. I even have friends that grew up there, and it's just, I'm glad they're doing something now. I'm glad they're like really deeply researching the energy that is in that area.
And, you know, I think that, you know, Bigelow, the previous owner, and NIDS, they spent how many years there and all this money on research, and a lot of that is still classified.
Right.
So they had to find out something, you know, they have to know something.
Yeah.
And so here you go again
Absolutely.
to the, you know, why don't you tell us?
Why don't you
And,
tell us?
you know, I think some of this, look, not all of it. I'm not putting this out there as a blanket condemnation or indictment or anything. But I think some of this has to go back to, you know, like my history professor said the Electoral College was formed because basically the guys with the money and the intellect and the schooling wanted to make the decisions because they didn't think us peons out plowing the fields had the intelligence to do so. So they said, okay, well, you come to us and tell us what you think, and we'll take that into consideration, but basically we're going to make the final decision. And I think throughout history, if you study history, it's always been that way. It's been the ruling elite making the decisions for us guys down here, you know, doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we have to fight against and get rid of is like, hey, we are smart enough and mature enough to make our own decisions, to understand what's going on, to figure out how we want this to go. And, you know, it doesn't take a college degree to do it. You don't have to be a nuclear physicist to do it. The average person, I think, has enough common sense to kind of figure things out.
Yeah.
If these beings are here from another planet and they're having a hard time implementing their will on this planet for whatever reason, I need to know that. And what are you doing to protect us? And what are you going to do to protect us? It's just like Giorgio Tsoukalos. I watched him on a panel that George Norrie was moderating, and this is on YouTube. And George Norrie said he was, Giorgio Tsoukalos said he was all for the Space Force because he said maybe these beings are benevolent, but what if there are some that aren't? And they're highly technologically advanced and they've got weapons superior to ours and they have a malevolence. What are we going to do to protect ourselves? He said, I'm all for the Space Force. And that makes sense. You know, it's like if you meet somebody on the street, you don't tell them everything there is about you. You know, you don't tell them where your home is and what time you leave for work and all this kind of thing. You get to know them. You feel them out. You see if they're the real deal or not, if you can put your faith and trust in them or not. And so I think we have to look at the spiritual realm, the UFO realm, all these things in that same way. You don't just automatically give it your full trust. You have to say, okay, what's really happening here?
Right. Right. I absolutely agree with all of that. Do you think it's going to be an uphill battle continuously, or at some point are they going to trust us a little bit more than they do now?
I don't think it's a matter of trust. I think it's a matter of deceit. And I think that what we have to do is realize that and force their hands, that we have to somehow collectively come together in several different ways at several different levels to force their hands and make them tip their hands. And, a good way to do that is just keep the pressure on, and keep calling and writing your congressman. Simple as that. That's one of the things that you can do effectively. Another thing we can do is utilize this spiritual force, the spiritual energy that we do have, collectively focus that on these people to make them disclose things, to make them change their minds, to get them to open things up. So it's an uphill battle, but it's one I think we can win.
Oh, I love to hear you say that. I really do. It gets so disheartening thinking that in all the different ways that we do, because we all have a different opinion on what's occurring and how we can shift that.
Right.
And my belief has always been energy is energy, no matter what it looks like. And if we can come together more on the spiritual side of things and raise that vibration and shift that energy, a different playground will occur to us, if you will. I really think that there's just so much division, and that ego that you talk about is just so thick in our awareness right now and our experiences that it's preventing us from having those things happen.
Yeah.
We need to take a quick break, but it's the last one. Second hour's commercial free. So everyone stay close. We're going to get to know John a little bit more.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time.
To binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires, but sound the alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hello, Wanders. Welcome back. I am so happy to have you guys here tonight. It's my favorite night of the week. I say that every week, and I mean it. I love wandering. It's one of the best things about my life right now, and I'm just grateful that you're along for the ride. Tonight we are hanging out with John Russell, and he is an author of a couple of books and more on the way. He's an internationally known professional psychic, and he works with clients from all around the world. He's been on, how many shows did you say? Over 100?
Oh, I've had over 100 interviews in the past year and a half. Yeah,
that's so many. And you talk about all kinds of topics, all in the arena of which we love to hear about. So thank you for spending your time with us tonight.
So I'm enjoying it. It's great. Thank you for having me.
Good. I love your energy.
Oh, thank you.
So good. It's so good. We did have a question. Looks like over on YouTube. So if you guys have questions, make sure you're hanging out on KGRA Digital Broadcasting Facebook and YouTube pages. And if not, go to kgradb.com. There you can hang out in the chat room and watch the show live. Also, there's tons of other shows there. There's behind the scenes content, things you won't see out here in this area. And if you guys want to hop on a membership and support the station, I highly encourage you to do so. You can use my promo code SOUL, SOUL 21, and that will give you 30% off your membership. So savings, we all love to save some money. It's not expensive anyway, but that's just a little more money in your pocket, and you get all of this great content. It's a win-win. But going back to the question on YouTube, it's from American Road Warrior. He wants to know, does the guest believe in positive, neutral, or negative energies?
Or aliens?
Aliens, yes.
Yeah.
That's why I put it on the screen so you could get it right.
You know, we have to acknowledge the possibility of all of those coexisting simultaneously. And we don't know the motivation of these encounters at this point. What we do know is I remember seeing an interview with Rob Shelsky, who is a MUFON field investigator. And he said, where is the story where you're lost in the woods at night and you're afraid you're going to get cold and freeze to death or attacked by a wild animal or not make it out, and this UFO comes over, shines down a beam of light, and leads you safely out of the woods? Where is that story? We don't have that. But what we do have are numerous reports of abductions with horrific experiments that hurt, that are against our will, ties to cattle mutilations, near misses with aircraft, shutting down our nuclear missile silos, reports of jet pilots flying toward the UFO and having all the instrumentation, the weapon instrumentation in their aircraft shut down, which leaves them defenseless, and they presume as an act of war. So we have all those things, and all those things are negatives.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have to think, okay, this is the example I always give. With all these intelligences out there, if we extrapolate from life here on Earth, we've got bad people here, but we've also got good people here. And you would think that somewhere out there in these intelligences, there would be somebody that says, hey, let's throw these guys a bone. Let's help them out here a little bit. But we don't seem to see that. Now, we get a lot of useless nonsense about the Space Brothers came to me and told me they were from da-da-da-da-da and all this and all that. Well, great. Where's the proof? Number one, it doesn't exist. Number two, did you get anything from it we can use? Can you go to St. Jude Children's Hospital and heal any of the little kids? Can you make our life here better? Can you help our energy crisis? Can you help solve our pollution? Can you help us be more at peace with Mother Earth and the calamities, natural disasters that occur? No. So that's useless. So we get a lot of that type of nonsense. But the point of it is we just don't know at this point. But the preponderance of anecdotal evidence and now physical evidence from our own government seems to weight toward the negative side. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we have to look at until we're proven differently.
Right. And I want to shift gears a little bit and talk some on the paranormal as well. Like you talk about these experiences being negative. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people will say their paranormal experiences are negative. I've had a negative experience, but most of them are really positive.
Yeah.
And from what I understand from other times that I've seen you on other shows, you feel the same way.
Yeah, the overwhelming amount of my experiences have been positive. And I think that a lot of the times, if not most of the times, that people report negative paranormal experiences, it's either through misinterpretation of the experience, an overvivid imagination where they imagine something's happening that's not.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things I've investigated. There's been drug use, drug abuse.
Yeah.
There's been mental illness, all these types of things. So all of those things have to weigh in. Now, in all of the paranormal investigations that I've done, and I've been doing this since I was 11 years old, and all of these paranormal investigations I've conducted, I've never been bitten. I've never been scratched. I've never been pushed down. I've never been threatened. I've never experienced any of these things. And I've tried to reliably find someone, not the so-called ghost hunters on TV, where it's well known that the production people behind the scenes will go, can you jump right here? Can you jump and scream and run out of the room? Or can you work up a cry? Okay,
Right.
That's total fake BS. I'm trying to find somebody reliable beyond that nonsense that has actually experienced any of these negative physical manifestations. And to date, I haven't. Now, I'm not saying it's not out there, but I'm saying I haven't. And I'm saying that I know from talking to people on these shows on TV, both the on-air talent and behind-the-scenes production, that most of it is totally fake. So, people are looking at that and accepting that as evidence of what happens with interaction with the paranormal realm. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. And it's like I've had literally life-saving experiences with the other side more than once, many times, where they have literally saved my life.
Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most dramatic examples, when I was riding my motorcycle, I was going up I-75 here in Florida, 3-lane, divided interstate. And in Florida, the right lane, and typically as it is everywhere, is the speed limit 70 miles an hour. That's the slow lane. The middle lane, people go a little faster, and the left lane, people are going faster and for passing. Well, here in Florida, the right lane is usually 80 to 90 miles an hour. The middle lane's faster than that. The left lane is people that imagine they're training for the Daytona 500. So it's really crazy. It's really nuts. And I have a real good high-speed riding skill, I've been riding since I was 15 and ridden a number of motorcycles and have pushed the limits to acquire a high-speed riding skill. But on that particular day, I'd scheduled myself a day off. It was a beautiful sunny day, and I'm rolling through the countryside, enjoying the scenery, and I'm just geezering along, 65, 70 in the right lane. Little old ladies are passing me on tricycles, and I don't care. I'm enjoying the day. I'm having a good time. I'm just relaxing. I'm on the bike. Everything's great. And this one of my guys, the voice in the head, says to me almost audibly, John, or it didn't say John first, it just said, move into the left lane. And I start arguing with him after all these years. I'm like, guys, I'm having a good time. This is beautiful. I'm just cruising. I don't want to get over there. Look how crazy these people are. Look what I'm going to have to do to get over there. And they went, John, move into the left lane now. I'm like, okay, so I'm downshifting, upshifting, bobbing, weaving, leaning, brake on, brake off, clutch on, clutch on, blah, 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 blah. People cursing me, damn bikers and all this stuff. So I weave through the traffic, get into the left lane. This happens much quicker than it takes me to tell you about it. And as I am in the left lane, I'm going, okay, guys, I'm here. What was that all about? In the right lane, I don't know if this guy hit somebody or somebody hit him, but this car is spinning around in the right lane. I look over, his eyes meet mine as he's spinning around, and he winds up pointing the wrong way on the interstate. Detritus is blowing across the lanes, hubcaps, pieces of bumper, all this other stuff like shrapnel, and I'm dodging that. Cars are braking, squealing, smoke's coming up from the tires, and I'm looking back, I'm like, oh my God, do I need to stop? But other cars are stopping. I know they're going to get help and go on, so on and so forth. So I'm like, thank you guys. It's like, I'm sorry I argued and waited so long to get over, because the wreck occurred right exactly where I would have been. I would have ran smack dab into the sky, been hit by no telling how many cars. Wouldn't be here to tell you this story. And so that's only one example in my life where listening to my guardian angels quite literally saved my life. And that potential is out there for all of us, but you have to train that. You have to listen. You have to ask for that help. And then you have to listen. And when your intuition or when the voice of the prompting comes to you, you have to obey it. If I hadn't obeyed it that day, I wouldn't be here to talk to you. But I did, albeit with some arguing with the guys on the other side. So they literally saved my life. So that's only one of the overwhelmingly positive experiences that I've had, and that we can all have if we'll bother to tune in. The problem is we don't tune in. We're on the cell phone, we're on the computer, we're on the radio, we're on the TV. We're plugged in all the time, and it's always some type of noise, and you have to disconnect from all of that. And when you ask for help and ask for guidance, you have to spend some time disconnected from all of that in the quiet and go, okay, I'm here, I'm listening. What do you have to tell me?
Yeah. And it's that reminder. I've even caught myself lately checking out too much. And that's not like me. It's not like me, but it happens so easily.
It's easy to do.
And I've had to remind myself, you need to turn all of these devices off. There's no reason they're all on right now. That's just ridiculous.
I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes. Oh, Skinwalker Ranch is on tonight? Oh, geez, I'll do it later, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, too.
Yeah, we have all these distractions and we have all these problems. And, you know, the problem is we have gotten so plugged in that it's dangerous to our health. It's dangerous to our spiritual, mental, emotional well-being. And it's dangerous to us physically. I was riding my motorcycle through this town and approaching this intersection, and this lady is walking down the sidewalk with her head down like this, scrolling on her cell phone, looking at her cell phone as she's walking down the sidewalk. She gets to the street. She doesn't look up. She walks off the curb into the street. This pickup's turning, and thank God he was watching, because she stepped off the curb right in front of him. He jammed on the brakes, thank God. And this was her response. And then she went right back to her phone and walked across the street.
Wow.
Her life nearly ended. And her response was, oh, where'd this guy come from? What's going on? And right back to her phone and across the street with her head down on the phone. Even after she had nearly lost her life, she went right back to that same behavior that nearly killed her.
See it all the time.
Yeah, and so tuned out. This is where we're at, and we're so disconnected from life. We're so disconnected. It's like I had this buddy of mine who's on the other side now, God rest his soul, and he was a police officer. And we were hiking through the forest one time on this trail, and these two women came running by us, just chattering and laughing and just oblivious. And he's like, we're out here in the middle of nowhere. You know how easy it'd be for us to kidnap them right now, abduct them, whatever. And then you see people going, men and women, the headphones are in, they can't hear anything. Mm-hmm. And they're going out here, they're driving, they're walking, they're doing this, they're fair game. We have predators in our society, and they're fair game, you know. And it's like we have to realize we're so disconnected from what's even going on around us that it's a wonder any of us survive. It's a wonder that there aren't multiple wrecks constantly as people get up and go to work in the morning, because they're reaching for this, they're looking for that, they're eating it. I saw one woman one time, she was going down the street. She had a cigarette, she was smoking, and she would put it down. And then she had her cell phone like this between her ear, talking on her cell phone and holding on the steering wheel. And then she would reach over in the seat, get a bite of food, and then go back to the cigarette. And that's how she was going down the road. I saw another lady on the interstate, and she's going 75 miles an hour. And on the bike, you kind of sit up, you can kind of see into people's cars a little easier. So I'm beside her, and she comes up beside me, and I look over, and she's knitting. At 75 miles an hour, she has her knitting on her steering wheel, her knitting needles, and she's knitting as she's going to. And I hit the binders, and I just pull back and let her get way down the road. It's like, you know, people are so disconnected, so distracted.
I call them zombies.
Yeah,
they're everywhere.
They're just total zombies. They're unconscious. They're absolutely unconscious.
Yeah.
And so if we hope to make progress in the spiritual realm, we have to realize that we have to be willing to disconnect from that and focus our attention on the spiritual realm and get that interaction and get in touch with our intuition and get in touch with the process where our guardian angels, our spirit guides, so on, can speak to us and get our attention and can help us and can guide us. And it's a struggle. It's a process for people. And it's difficult to get people to disconnect from that because everybody just seems like they're almost addicted to that now.
Yeah.
And like it physically hurts them to pull away from it. It's like you tell people to put their cell phones down and talk to you, and they're just itching. They're just vibrating to go and pick that phone up and start scrolling. It's like we've become
and you see them, and you see them put the devices in front of their like 1-year-olds to distract them. Like they're starting them so young. Exactly.
And we've lost touch with nature. We've lost touch with each other. We've lost touch with Mother Earth. We've lost touch with the spiritual realm. And it's a frightening thing. And we have to, it's not that it's a bad technology, but it's misused.
Yes.
And, we have to ration what we do. And we have to do other things and participate in other things. I mean, like, this is a wonderful technology that we can sit here and talk and reach all these people. But if that's all we do, we've missed the boat. Everything has its place.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yes. And I crave that connection.
Yeah,
I really do. And I'm very fortunate where I have a small group of people who that's not their lifestyle either. That's not what we, strive to do all day, every day. And that connection.
And that's really great. That's really great when you have that human interaction, that human connection.
Yeah,
and
it's so important.
It is. And it feels even better then when you get that spiritual connection and you have that voice that says, "Hey, John," and you can rely on it and it's life-saving. And that's the thing that we need to point people to and people need to grasp. And that's why I'm so adamant on things that, look, don't do hearsay, don't do dogma, don't do silly daydreams and junk. Find something that works that will help you in this physical realm. We have to live in this physical realm, whether you like it or not. You can disagree with gravity and the concept of gravity all day long, but you go jump off a building, you're going to go splat.
Yeah.
And if you don't eat and you don't drink, you're going to die.
Right.
So there are physical realities that we have to deal with. And the purpose of connecting with this other realm is to help ease things in this physical dimension and to take that spiritual power and apply it in such a way that it benefits our lives and helps our lives, and then we can help other people's lives.
Right. And it really is just taking that time out because the connection isn't challenging. Our angels and guides really want to communicate with us. It's us that get in the way of that communication.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to talk about your books because it's so important that we touch on that topic, and the show is flying by so quickly.
It is. It always does. It's like you barely scratch the surface.
It's true. We could talk all night. It sounds like you have a lot to share. And I just feel like we're going from topic to topic, which 2 hours, that's just, people say, your show is how long? Do you ever run out of things to talk about?
No.
No, that's not a thing. So far you've written 2 books, correct? And you have okay.
So 2 books and 1 on the way.
We have A Knock in the Attic, which was your first one.
Riding with Ghosts is the first one.
The first one was so that's what I was questioning.
Yeah, Riding with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. That's the first one.
Okay.
Tell
us about that one.
I had shot a TV pilot for the History Channel, which unfortunately never aired. And my producer and I became friends, stayed friends, and started working on other projects. And one of the things that he asked me to do was to write down some of the paranormal experiences I'd had, just in brief form, just some snippets to put on a blog that we could approach producers with and say, look, here's some of the things John's experienced and so on and so forth. So as I begin to do that, while I'm riding my motorcycle, I begin to have this plethora of, even for me, over-the-top, bizarre, wonderful paranormal experiences, paranormal manifestations that were directly related to me riding my motorcycle. And I began to write those down. And down the road, I said, these experiences are so dramatic, so incredible, so wonderful, and so meaningful, so lesson filled, that I've got to take these, expand them into their full form, tell everything that happened with each one, and then collect them in this book. And it became just an overriding passion for me to do that. And I did, and put that together. And that's the collection of stories then, in Writing with Ghosts, Angels, and Spirits of the Dead. And that centers mostly on me riding my motorcycle. There are some other throwback stories in there and so on and so forth. But that was the impetus for that book. And then the second book, A Knock in the Attic, is actually kind of a prequel to Riding with Ghosts. It goes back to my childhood, to when the old black ghost woke me up and opened that portal, and then comes on up through my childhood and my teenage years, my adulthood, and how it was like, what it was like to grow up with these paranormal experiences, grow up psychic, experience the things that I did. And I talk about, in brief, encountering some of these things in religion and in the spiritual realm that were phony and fake. And then I go into some of the wonderful experiences I had. I met Uri Geller in person and what that was like, and talk about what it was like to shoot the pilot for the History Channel, the TV pilot for the History Channel, and some of my more spectacular paranormal investigations and experiences on up until the present day. And it's full of a lot of entertaining things. And then the third book, which hopefully I'm so busy and I'm trying to hammer this thing out, but hopefully be published September, October this year.
Oh, cool.
This is titled 20 Ways to Increase Your Psychic Abilities. And it's kind of an amalgam of everything I've learned over the years. And I take one spiritual technique per chapter. I define what that is. I tell you how to learn it step by step. So if you don't know anything at all, I'm going to take you by the hand, walk you step by step through it, teach you how to learn it, practice it, get good at it, and then the real world application of it. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun for people.
Oh,
a lot
definitely.
of people are clamoring to get that. I'm working on it as hard as I can. So everybody, please be patient. Hopefully September, October this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's no easy feat to write a book.
It's difficult. People
Especially
think
one that trains someone else to do something.
People think that writing a book is easy. And in my life in the past, I have done hard physical labor. And writing a book is much more difficult than hard physical labor. It's like,
Right.
And if you truly love words and if you truly love communication, there have been times I have literally sat there 10 or 15 minutes choosing a word to go in the right word to go in a sentence, because they both have similar shades of meaning, but one is just a little bit different, a little bit more this way.
Yeah.
And what am I really trying to convey here? And you sit there and you 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, which word goes where here? And then a lot of times you get that done. It goes to the editor, and the editor comes back and goes, "This is wrong. What you need to say is this." I'm like, geez, yeah, you're right. So it's a trying process. It's a difficult process, and especially in writing nonfiction like this, telling these true stories, it can't just be, well, here's what happened, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be entertaining. You have to make it entertaining enough that people are going to want to read
Every
it.
detail.
But it's got to be factual at the same time. So it's a difficult balance. It's a balancing act, and it's difficult. And it was a nightmare getting my first book done, and then the second book a little easier. The third book, I don't know. It's getting there. It's like, but I've got more in me. There's going to be more coming down the road. So there's a lot more to come.
Oh, good. Yes, I love that. But the third book's such a different type of book. It's not just your experiences. You're actually teaching us.
Right.
So do you believe that everyone is a psychic?
Everyone has some psychic ability, but everybody will plateau at some level. And the analogy I always use is we can all play piano to a degree, but I may take lessons for 2 years and barely play chopsticks passably. And you may have picked it up at the age of 5. And by the time you're 10, you're making people weep. You can play so beautifully. So we can all play piano, but to a different degree. Same way with our psychic abilities. We can all learn to some degree, but we're all going to plateau at some point. And what you have to do is, progress as far as you can, take things as far as you can, with the primary focus on, okay, I'm going to learn this to help myself, and then I'm going to see what I can do to help other people with that gift and that talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that you're willing to share and you're willing to assist others in developing that ability.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's something that we all need. And it's something, once again, if we can all band together, it's like I write in my second book about growing up, and we had a spiritual circle or a prayer group or whatever name you want to give it. We had it in our home, and it was successful at first because people were made to put their egos aside. And this was the time back during then, like Eckankar was popular, the inner peace movement was popular, all those types of things. And so people were studying these things and learning these tools and techniques from these things. And what we did was say, okay, if you're an EC member and you want to use that technique, great, but don't force it on everybody else or expect everybody else to. If you're using a technique from inner peace movement, great. If that works for you, use it. But I may use something else, and don't castigate me or look down on me if I do. And if you want to just pray in a traditional manner, that's great. Or if you want to visualize a certain outcome, that's great. You do what works for you. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all of that energy and focus it on one single goal. Now, it doesn't matter how we get to that goal, whether it's Eckankar, inner peace movement, traditional prayer, visualization, whatever. But this is the goal. And if we'll all put that power together, wherever it comes from, and unify it toward that goal, we'll get some results. And we did. We got some amazing results. But then little by little, it began to fracture, and people were like, well, have you read this book? This guy says this technique, and we should try this technique. Well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Things were working. We didn't need to introduce anything new. And then people begin to have ego involved. You know, why can't I lead a meeting? Well, why don't we do it at my house for a while, or this, that, and the other? And so it began to splinter and fall apart. And that's the thing that that's always the danger, is that ego gets in the way, and the desire for some other technique or some other new teaching. You know, it's real funny over the years. You know, I've read professionally for 50 years, and I've heard just about everything from everybody. And they're always, well, have you heard of this technique? Do you know about this technique or whatever? And yeah, I do. And the funny thing is every few years, some new technique will come about, and it's just a rehash of something that's always existed if you've studied it and if you know what's going on. But, oh, this is the new great thing, and this is going to heal everybody and solve everything, and blah, blah. And it doesn't, you know, it's just a rehash of something that's existed before. And so we have to realize there's all these things out there have this foundation that's been around for a long, 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 long time. And we have to sift through that and find out what speaks to us personally and what works for us personally, and then utilize that. Yeah. And, you know, not worry about trying to learn something else or be something else or do something else. If you've got something that works effectively, keep refining that, keep doing what you can with it. And then if Spirit leads you to integrate something else or lead you to something else, that's great. But don't let it be because some guy came along and said, oh, you got to do this or you got to try this. Well, not necessarily.
Well, as humans, we're so good at looking outside of ourselves for the answer and for the healing, for whatever it may be, instead of understanding and recognizing that we are our greatest teachers, we're our greatest healers. And
that's why we get involved in cults and we get led astray by phony psychics and all this, is because we're looking out there and we're doing that without testing things and without trusting our own intuition. Mm-hmm. And I just saw a documentary on a cult the other day, and it was really funny because people in this cult, as they were progressing in this cult, they would go, you know, something didn't set quite right, or my intuition told me this was wrong, or my heart or my conscience told me this was wrong, but I went ahead anyways, you know. And that's the purpose of our intuition, our conscience, this guidance from the other side, is to say, hey, don't get involved with this, can take you down the wrong path. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have to learn to listen to. And it doesn't always come from out there, from some teacher, from some group, some source. I'm always telling my clients, I said, look, the very best thing you can do to learn from the other side is go to the other side and say, here I am. What am I supposed to be doing? Teach me, guide me, then get still, get quiet and listen. When they give you the answer, act on that answer. And that's the best teaching you can get.
When you say go to the other side, what do you mean?
Whatever your concept of that is, whether you go to a guardian angel, a guide, you pray to a saint, you pray to God, you pray to the universal mind, whatever your concept of that is, you go to that and you say, okay, this higher power that I believe exists for my good. I believe that you're there. I know that you're there. communicate to me what I'm supposed to be doing today and what my purpose is in life. Get that from the source, and then shut up and listen. And then when they tell you, when they tell you, John, get in the other lane now, do it. Move. Be willing to move. That's the thing.
I have to go back to that story. Did you say your guys or your guides?
My guys, GUIS. I affectionately call the retinue of all of my spiritual contacts on the other side my guys.
I love that.
Yeah, that's my affectionate term for them. And it's, women, men, deceased loved ones, guardian angels, guides, entities I don't even know how to describe. I lump them all together with a very affectionate term, my guys.
Mine's my posse.
Yeah. And my guys have never led me astray, never led me wrong, have saved my life many times and helped me to help others around the world. And that's what it's all about.
Oh, it's so good. I love that. What made you decide anyways to put your stories out there in book form?
I think the main thing was that I had truths that I know are truths. And I wanted to get that out there for people that are searching and that want some common sense and reason in the spiritual realm, and to leave a legacy for myself so that after I'm gone, somebody goes in the bookstore or somebody goes in the library, sees the book, I'll check this out. And then they find something meaningful in there. And that was my main motivation. And already I'm getting the feedback that that's the case. People are telling me that, one example, one review a person left for me was like, John showed me that it's okay to open up to the other side, that not everything is fearful or scary or demonic or dangerous, that I can open up safely and get help and receive help and, live a better life that way. And so I get that feedback now. And that was the purpose of writing these books, was so that people could get that and not, too many things out there are unprovable nonsense. Too many things out there try and scare you to death. Too many things out there. There's a demon behind every bush. And that's not the way it is. Yeah. And, I wanted to put something out there that people could get and go, wow, this has some meaning for me.
I love your why. I love that you have that motivation and intention behind writing instead of anything that's ego-based, like you were talking about. A lot of people will write books because of that.
Right.
And the energy, you can feel that. And it's really neat that your purpose is just that. It's a really beautiful thing. It makes me want to even read them more.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And it's, that's, like I say, that's why I wrote them. I wanted to leave that legacy because there is so much wrong-headedness out there in the paranormal realm, the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give people something that I could say, look, this has actually occurred. Other people have witnessed it. We've caught it on camera. We've caught it on audio. Some of it, we know exactly what it means, how to interpret it, how to use it, how to interact with it. And you can too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that, one of the things that I think a very good example of one of the reasons I wanted to write this book is the misinterpretation that people have interacting with the other side. The default that people go to, the knee-jerk response, is it's got to be demonic, it's got to be evil, it's got to be satanic, it's got to be harmful, whatever. And I remember when I was shooting the pilot, this lady came to me and she says, when you get a break, I have to talk to you. This ghost tried to kill me. I said, oh my God, no ghost tried to kill you. Yes, this ghost tried to kill me. I said, okay. So I get the break and we go in this other room, we're talking. And she said, when I was in my kitchen, the cupboard flew open, this plate came out, flew across the room by itself, landed a foot or two away from me, crashed to the wall, broke into a jillion pieces. This ghost tried to kill me. I said, no, the ghost did not try and kill you. Number one, if the ghost tried to kill you, you'd be dead. The plate didn't hurt you. I said, I can psychically tell you right now that for you individually, you have this necessity to connect with the other side. And they've been trying to get through to you for a number of years to guide you in some very specific directions that you need in your life. And you've been shutting that off and you've been ignoring that. And I said, finally, they got to the point of frustration that it's like, ignore this. And you couldn't. And I said,
they were getting her attention.
That's all it was an attention getter. And I said, now, here's what you do with that. But see, that's the default response people have to something that's dramatic is, it's dangerous, or it's demonic, or it's this, or it's that. And we have this default that we go to. And most of the time we're wrong, because that's not the situation at all. And it's like, I tell people, I say, if you were to ask a spirit to appear to you, and this grotesque being appeared to you, your default response would be it's either Satan, or it's a demon, or it's demonic, or it's evil, or it's whatever. Maybe that's just the way it looks. Maybe it's the sweetest kind of spirit on the planet, but it has a grotesque appearance. We view everything through the perception of us. What's the first thing that scientists say? Life couldn't exist on a planet that didn't have this, and this. Well, that's for humans. Maybe aliens breathe noxious green gas and survive in heats of 500 degrees Fahrenheit. We don't know, but we extrapolate everything through the human condition. So, we look at our time on this planet in this very narrow timeline. In my 68 years, this, and this has happened. Anything outside that realm, we tend not to take notice of. We tend to forget that there's thousands of years of recorded history. We tend to forget that various other things have happened in our lifetime, and you have to put all that into perspective. And likewise, when you contact the spiritual realm. So you can't expect everything out there, every entity, every spirit, to be what we want them to look like, or be what we want them to be, or to be an intelligence that we think we can neatly put in a box and define. There's nature spirits out there. There's fairies. There's elementals. There's this. There's that. And we have to account for all these other intelligences and realize they're not human intelligences. Mm-hmm. My little dog is not a human intelligence. He doesn't look anything like me. He doesn't look anything like any other person on this planet. He doesn't speak English to me, but he can make his needs known. And through body language, he can make his needs known. And he can understand me to the point that I've had to start spelling in front of him, not to get him overly excited. And now, now he's learned how to spell. He knows if I'm spelling, we'll take him for an RIDE later. As soon as RIDE comes out, he's like, all right, the car, let's go for a ride. So there's an intelligence there. It's not a human intelligence, but it's a demonstrable intelligence. Yeah. And we have to realize that when we're interacting with the other side and interacting with different beings, we're not interacting with something that looks like us or may have our motivation or our intrinsic needs or desires or whatever, but it is an intelligence. Right. And it may be an equal intelligence. It may be a lesser intelligence. It may be a superior intelligence. But nonetheless, it's an intelligence.
This is exactly why I wanted you on the show, because you have such a different perspective than a lot of people do. Yeah. They'll grab a story and run with it. And not that it's wrong. I have no judgment towards it. That's their truth and their experience. But I relate to yours. Yeah.
And we have to get out of that's your truth. Well, you can use the excuse of that's my truth for anything. There are objective things out there and objective truths that we can come to if we're willing to. Yeah. And the problem is that requires that you subjugate your desire, your belief, your dogma, your ritual, your tradition, that you put all that in a different box and say, okay, I'm willing to look at this. And I see a lot of times I'm on podcasts, I'm on YouTube in the chat thing, I say, well, I believe in psychics, but I don't believe in mediums. Basically the same thing, if you know what you're doing. I believe in Bigfoot, but I don't believe in UFOs. I believe in UFOs, but I don't believe in psychics. It's like people.
How do you pick and choose?
Yeah, how do you pick and choose? We've got this huge umbrella out there, and everything falls under this umbrella. And if you start segregating, dividing all this stuff, that's why our research doesn't evolve, and that's why our research doesn't advance, is because, well, hey, let's bring John Russell in. No, I don't believe in psychics. Well, maybe no. So this is all the things that we have to surmount and get over, and it's comical. It's heartbreaking, but it's comical.
Yeah, I mean, it can be definitely. I like to find humor in all things. It
You
does
have
help.
to
It
stay
does
sane.
help.
I tell you, you have to stay sane nowadays.
Very, very, very true. Very true. Well, we have like 15, 20 minutes, and I am really interested in hearing some of your stories. Like
Oh
something
man,
that
I've got
you
a
have so
lot of them.
many, I know, but are there any that you like say that you shared in your books
Yeah,
or ones that
there are
stand
some
out
that
that you think we would really like?
there are some that stand out for me. One I write about in my book. I had divorced, and my sister had divorced, and we both moved back to our old home, which had an apartment attached to it. My grandmother used to live in, and it was a big old house. So there was plenty of room for all of us, and ostensibly we moved home to take care of my ailing mother, who became bedfast and then eventually died. But really, I think we both just needed some shelter. We just needed a place to come back to and just kind of escape and decompress and kind of recover. So we're living there. My sister had these two little small scruffy dogs, about 15 pounds apiece, I guess, little small dogs. And one was constantly sick. He had all of these allergies and all these problems, and he was always sick. And my sister had given him one of her bathrobes, and she had given him this croquet ball, which he loved to nose around and chase around, and this big, large, green, squeaky frog toy, which he would mouth and chew, and he would wrap it up in this robe with his feet and ball it up, and then he'd unwrap it and play with it and all this. And it was just dirty, just filthy, just nasty. And my mother was almost basically bedfast by then, and so my sister would bring the little dogs in when she went to work, put them in bed with my mother, and they'd stay there most of the day. And so I had come in, and it was this beautiful day, and I went in, made myself a sandwich, and I was sitting at the dining table and just letting my thoughts wander and enjoying my sandwich, enjoy looking out the window at the day. And I heard the little sick dog jump down off the bed, come down the hallway, and I turned my head over to the left to look at him as he came through the door. He walked behind me, and I turned my head to the right, and or rather the right as he came in. Then I turned my head to the left to watch him go into the kitchen. And as I turned my head to the left, this woman bent down and put her face about a foot or two from mine. And I jumped, knocked my chair over, threw my sandwich, which fortunately landed intact on the table. I got to eat my sandwich, scared the hell out of the little dog. He scared and went running into the kitchen, and she disappeared. And I can describe to you what she looked like, what she had on, everything else, and she was smiling. And she conveyed to me in that split second that she was following that little dog because he was going to die soon, and she was going to help him cross over and make sure he was okay on the other side. And my mother asked me, she said, "What happened? What happened?" And I said, "Oh, I knocked my chair over. I saw a ghost, and it startled me, and I knocked my chair over." And she goes, "Did the ghost say anything? Did it have a message?" Well, it did, but I wasn't going to tell her because I would have broken her heart. I didn't say anything to my sister. Sure enough, a couple of weeks later, the little dog dies. So we have this custom, like a lot of people do. We buried our pets in our yard, and a lot of people do that. And so my sister took the little dog and wrapped him up in this bathrobe, and that necessitated several turns of folding and wrapping because he's little bitty. And she sticks the frog in there with him, that green squeaky frog toy that he loves so much, wraps it up. So we got this tight little bundle. We dig a hole in the backyard, put that down in there, fill it in, and I put a large, heavy rock over it so that no predators would dig him up until the grass grew back and everything solidified. Finally, it did, and I moved the rock. So down the road, the grass has grown back. You can't even, unless you know where the grave's at, you couldn't even tell the ground had ever been disturbed there. And so I had been out one day, and I had this big old Doberman named Elson. She was out in a pen outside, big red Doberman I love dearly. And I had been out somewhere, and I was walking back in, and I stopped by the pen to pet Elson, say hi to her. And I was walking up the driveway, and I looked over, and over the backyard, there was something sitting on the lawn. And I looked at it, and I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, what in the world is that? So I walked over to it, and as I got closer, I saw it was that green squeaky frog toy.
No way.
And that's what I thought. I walked over there, and I was like, oh, my God. So I bent down, I picked it up, looked at it. It was definitely his toy. And so I bent down and said, okay, somebody's playing a prank, right? So I bent down and I feel around in the grass and the dirt. Everything's solid as concrete. The grass hadn't been dug up. The dirt hadn't been disturbed. Everything's totally solid. So this thing has teleported through that winding, through that earth, up to the top of the grave and is sitting there facing me as I come in. So I got it and I put it on the steps outside where I knew my sister would have to walk up.
Unbelievable.
To her apartment. Went in and told my mom what happened. And we sit there waiting for my sister to get home. So she pulls in the driveway, the car turns off and just sits there, and I'm listening. Nothing happens. And I know what's happening because she's seen that frog on the step and she's freaking out and she's like, what the hell? And she's not getting out of the car, right? So finally the car door slams and then I hear the apartment door close and she comes running in through the house, comes in, she goes, did you see this? And I said, yeah, I'm the one that found it and put it there. She said, where was it? I said, sitting on the dog's grave. And she went out and started digging in the dirt and the grass and everything to see if I'd played a prank on her, dug it up or whatever. Everything was solid as could be. And she's like, oh my God. So she said, well, give it to Elsa. I kind of wanted to stay around and let Elsa play with it. And we'll kind of keep it in the family that way. And so that was a demonstration that whether the little dog did it or someone helped him do it, that, hey, I'm still here, I'm around. Look at this. Yeah. So that was one of my favorite stories. It was pretty phenomenal.
That's a pretty big story.
That's a pretty big story. Yeah. Another one that I really like that I think is very meaningful. When I was almost 20, I guess, I had started reading professionally at the age of 18 and started gathering a number of clients. And I had all these physical paranormal experiences other people had witnessed them. I knew they were real. I didn't believe in UFOs. I had read the magazines. I'd read the books. I'd seen the interviews. I was like, no, ain't buying it, not buying it. Don't believe in UFOs. So I had been to this place. I come out of the building. My car was parked across this narrow 2-lane street in this parking lot. I could step out the door and see my car. And I came out the doors about 4 p.m, I guess, somewhere around there. And this is back in San Angelo, Texas, my hometown. And we were in the southern tip end of Tornado Alley. So I had grown up with all manner of serious severe weather and thunderstorms and hail and tornadoes and all kinds of stuff. And I stepped out the door and this blast of wind hits me in the face and it's overcast. And I said, oh boy, it looks like we're going to have a storm. So I guess I better run for the car. So I look over toward my car, and in the parking lot by my car is this column of a cloud, maybe about 5-6 feet in diameter, 4, 5, 6 feet in diameter, that's attached to the clouds above. And it's down in the parking lot sitting by my car. And I'm like, okay, I haven't seen anything like this before. No dust devil, no nothing else. It seems like, could it be a tornado forming, but it's not doing anything. And as I'm sitting there watching it, these glowing orange orbs and blue and yellow and red and green orbs come out of the interior of this thing to the surface and then fade back in. And they're all like phosphorescent. They're glowing and they're bright. Mm-hmm. So I look at this and I'm like almost 20, whatever, 21, somewhere around in there. And I said, okay, that's it. A fuse is blown. I'm nuts. I've gone nuts. I'm hallucinating. I'm crazy. And I literally seriously thought that. I thought I'll find my way to my car. I'll go to the hospital. And I say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what's happening in spite of all my paranormal experiences. And about this time, I get this irrational urge to walk toward the cloud. So I take a few steps out of the way and it advances toward me. I stop and it stops. I back up and it backs up. So I take a few more steps toward it. It comes towards me. I stop. It stops. I back up. It backs up. So I said, okay, I'm nuts. I've lost it. I've gone around the bend. I'm crazy. And I'm standing by the door that I came out of, and it opens up, whacks me in the back. This buddy of mine comes out and he goes, oh, man, I'm sorry. So what are you doing standing so close to the door? Without waiting for me to answer, he looks up and he says, oh, boy, it looks like we're in for it. And then he looks in the parking lot and he goes, what in the world is that? And I said, thank God I'm not crazy. He sees it too. I'm not nuts. I haven't cracked up. So I said, what's this? And I walked toward the cloud that advances towards me. I stop and back up, it stops and backs up. I do that a few times. I go, isn't that the weirdest thing you've ever seen? He looks at me like I'm the weirdest thing he's ever seen. He goes, bye. And he's out of there. He's parked a different direction. It spooks him crazy. He's gone. So I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm here with this thing. What happens now? So it goes back up, lifts back up into the clouds above, and the clouds begin to move over. And I'm like, okay. So I run for my car and I get in. And now this is not an everything's bigger in Texas story, but in Texas, in 15, 20 minutes, it can rain so hard it'll flood your lawn, flood underpasses, all that type of thing. So I'm used to that. But I get in my car and it begins to rain. I've got my wipers on high. I've got my headlights on. And AJ, it is raining so hard that my visibility is about a foot beyond the hood of my car.
That's
all I can see.
Already.
There's cars angle parked on the side of the street. I can't even see them. I'm afraid I'm going to swipe them, run into them, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I'm driving this way and I'm like, my God, I'm going to hit somebody. Somebody's going to hit me. So there was a Sears Roebuck store there, and it faced Beauregard. And then the back on Twig Street, there was a big parking lot, had a Sears Automotive Center, and a big parking lot out there that you could park for that or go in the Sears store from the rear entrance. So I thought, if I can creep along somehow and get into that parking lot, I don't care how soaked I get, I'll park the car however I can, get out, run to the store, go down in the basement, look at the sporting goods, wait for the storm to pass, and I'll go home. So that was my plan. So we're poking along. I've turned onto Twig Street, and I've nearly hit the car in front of me. The car in the back of me's nearly hit me. I still can't see the cars that are angle parked. And as I'm going along, I'm holding onto my steering wheel, and I'm leaning over as far as I can, looking out the passenger window to see where these cars are angle parked so that I don't scrape them. And as I'm leaned over that way, this rain that has been coming down so hard that I can't see 1 foot past my hood stops. Right
just
now.
Like that?
Just like that, is gone. Completely gone. 1 second, it's raining that hard. The next second, nothing. Total visibility is returned. It's still overcast, but there's not even a mist hitting the windshield. I've got visibility behind me, visibility in front, visibility all around. I'm like, what in God's name is this? So I turn off my wipers. I'm sitting there, and the cars on the street that are coming in the opposite direction all of a sudden start swerving into our lane and almost hitting the cars in our lane. And I'm like, what in God's name? And people are honking and yelling, and people are rolling down windows and pointing up at the sky, and people are jumping out of their cars and pointing up at the sky. I'm like, what in God's name is going on? And I look where they're pointing, and right over the Sears building, about 30, 50 feet above the Sears building, is this shiny metallic flying saucer about 30 to 50 feet in diameter, hovering over the rear of the Sears building.
Oh my God.
No smoke, no flames, no sound. And I literally did a cartoon eye rub. I literally did not believe my eyes. I literally did this cartoon eye rub and looked back up. And sure enough, it's there. So I grabbed my door handle to get out to get a better look. And the saucer just barely perceptibly moves toward us. And when it does, the clouds rush in from behind it, cover it up, and instantly the rain is back in the same ferocity it was before. Instantly. Doesn't start falling again. It's just instantly there like it was before. So this guy in front of me, I see, is turning into the Sears parking lot. And I said, okay, I don't care if I hit him. I don't care if I hit 10 other cars. The insurance will cover it. I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to talk to this guy. So I pull into the parking lot as close to him as I can get. I see his dome light come on. He jumps out. I jump out, start running through the rain. I have to shield my eyes, and it's coming down so hard it hurts. It physically hurts. And so I get to the rear entrance of the Sears store, and they had a vestibule there, an airlock. And you came in, you wiped your feet on the mat, and then there was another set of double doors that went into the Sears store. Off to the left of the basement down to the sporting goods and stuff. So he's just standing there on that mat looking down. I didn't wear glasses then, and I remember he did. And he's just sitting there staring down. His glasses are covered with water, and we're both dripping water like we just came out of the shower. And I walk around in front of him and stand there for a little bit, and he doesn't even know I'm there. He's just like staring down at the floor, and I said, excuse me. He looks up at me, and I said, did you see what I just saw? And he said, yeah, but I damn sure ain't going to tell nobody. And with that, he sidestepped me and walked off through the building. You got to remember, this is back in that time.
Yeah,
we just didn't talk about that. You just didn't talk about it. So I had to change religions then because I said, okay, there it is in broad daylight in the presence of witnesses. They do exist.
That was your first experience.
That was my first experience. I've
Wow.
had several since then.
Yeah.
And I didn't jump on the bandwagon if I know who they are and what they are and why they're here, because I don't. I don't to this day. And any honest researcher.
And you've had other experiences since.
Yeah, but I've had a lot of other experiences since then.
Oh my gosh, I wish we had more time. I want to hear about them all.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I'll come back again.
Yes, we would love that. I mean, what a story to leave us with, because I know like everyone's going to have questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, what did you see? What happened? And who else saw it? And, you know, all the questions that get asked when someone has a sighting. Wow. Thank you for sharing those stories with us. I really would enjoy more time with you. There's no doubt about that.
We'll do it
I'd
again.
love to get you back on the books. I know there was kind of a long wait, but I would love to have you back again and have you share, especially after you write your third book. But we have a couple of minutes, so let's make sure everyone knows where to reach you and how they can find your books for purchase.
Yeah. If you want to get a reading, johnrussell.net. If you want to find out more about the books, you can go to writingwithghosts.net or aknockintheattic.net. If you want to go ahead and purchase the books, and there's links on those sites for each book to purchase the books as well at Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, or you can go straight there online to Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble. Several mom and pop bookstores online carry them.
Wow.
And you can get them there. They're available there.
Awesome. That's so good. Well, I'm going to have to grab some for my shop.
Absolutely. I'd appreciate it.
That's so good. There's so many places to get them. John, like I said, you've been a complete joy. I really enjoy your energy. I love your points of view, and you're just a great, genuine guy. And I'm just really thankful we had the opportunity to have you. And I'll definitely be in touch for some more wandering.
Hey, Jay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed it. I hope everybody else has, and look forward to talking to you again down the road.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, John. And to all of you, what a great show, right? Great guests. Thank you all for being here and your participation in the chat rooms. You guys were chatty tonight. I love it. We'll see you guys all next week. Until then, be good to yourself and be good to each other. Good night.